I just love to paint. Now we put 2 small tack coats on these items and nothing on this yet, but I want to show you something. Now, especially when you use non-catalyzed primer and non-catalyzed color coat, what you have a chance of doing, and this is for all beginning painters, it will happen to you once, okay? What happens, like I say, is your paint underneath, your blue color and your primer is not quite dry. If you put on your tack coat, just like I said, tacked, just like a tack rag here, it's slightly sticky, okay? If you put too much on, and you can see on this first coat right here, okay, you can see that it's dull in some places, shiny in others. It's not completely beautiful, smooth, and everything. It's not supposed to be. What can happen is this. If you put on too much clear, whether it be catalyzed or non-catalyzed, what can happen is it will wet the outer surface of the color and go through the color and get into the primer. When the reducer goes through the color and gets into the primer, what it can do is fight it, and when it fights it, it eats it. It creates this crinkly look. It's hard for me to explain because I'm not going to show you what it looks like. What happens is, instead of the reducer drying out of the paint, it goes underneath the paint and stays there. That's why a tack coat is so important. You want to put on a kind of a light coat, like a barrier. You want to be patient. You can see here with this coat right here, it has light spots and dry spots, and that's no big deal, because remember, we're going to sand this with 2000 grit and then polish it. I'm not trying to get the whole color crystal clear, beautiful, everything in one shot. If you're not sure about how much clear to put on, whether you use a gun or whether you use a can, it can do the same thing. If you get the coat on too wet, too much reducer, it will sink into your finish and attack the underlying paint and fuck it up. If that does happen, what can happen is you leave it sit overnight, it can shrink, but usually it leaves a mark. Now what we can see here, and if you look very closely, you can see, you know, oh God, it doesn't look that so great, la la la. This is the first time I've put the clear over this other clear, and you can see where I've put it over the orange line. And you can see where I've put it over this black that I covered. And it doesn't cover everything perfectly, okay? If I was in a paint booth, then I could probably put it on better. But I'm going to sand this with 2000 wet anyway, so it doesn't matter. Remember, my goal is to put on enough clear, because I'm going to put that #1 emblem right here. So I'm going to sand this tomorrow with 2000 wet and get it smooth enough to where when I put the emblem on, then I can put 3 other coats of clear, or 4 other, 5 other, 6 other, or 12 other coats of clear. It doesn't matter. Okay? This emblem right here was beautiful silver. When I put it on about, I don't know how many years ago, you can still see the lines in it, but it's turned yellow because it's probably, there is probably a 1/4 inch of clear between the decal in the top coat. You know, which is fine. It's a moped. We're not talking about a Ferrari here. Now I'll wait 15 minutes for these two things to set, and I will go back and give it a second coat, wait 15 more minutes, and go back and give it a final coat. Then what I will do is put them away. Now, if you're a young person, you basically want to pick this thing up and you want to look at it, and you want to touch it, and you want to, is it dry yet? Is it dry yet? Now look, I was young once, okay? After you get done painting something like this, right, put it in your shed, put it in your car, put it somewhere where you can put a lock on it, and don't fucking touch it, okay? Leave it alone. Because the more you play with it, the more you're going to leave fingerprints in it, and it's just going to dry up fingerprints. So, I've got to get this first coat on the body panel, and then we'll go for the second coat.